Oh, okay.
Hey everybody, this is Paul Plana. We are live right now. We have an awesome coaching session going in right now. So it's just one. So this is exciting. I want to do more of these regularly. I've just been tied up with some cool projects and some things I'm going to be working on, which I would love to share with you folks. And I can share with our special guest here as well, O'Neill. So we'll start off with that, some secret stuff that we are working in our business as well that I'd love to share with her so she can grow her business. So O'Neill, you can go ahead. What do you have to share with you? Some questions and that sort of thing. I'll leave you the floor right now.
Oh, wow. That's just incredible. Well, Paul, I just want to say that if anybody is new here or they haven't been around very long, that you're a total rock star. And besides being hugely successful at what you do, I've been following you for years and years. And I have found that you have incredible integrity, kindness, thoughtfulness, and caring. And it's really, you stand out in the industry, definitely. And so I was going to ask you a lot of questions about your company and you, and kind of in an interview process, and then I have some stuff about me, but so I didn't kind of prepare as much about just all about my business. I have a few in there. Is it okay if we continue in this manner?
Yeah. So for the benefit of everybody, what I'll also do is, when I'm asking you questions as well, what I'll say is like, okay, what is, how are you trying to reach your customers today and some things like that. So the best way we'll go here is, can you just let me know a little bit about yourself? Like how long have you been doing this online stuff and what's been your experience? What level are you in right now? And the most important, right? I need to know your goal, right? In the next 12 months, what is your goal? Because based on that, we will basically go through this call today. Because about me, a lot of people know about me in a way. You're the here, basically the rock star here in a way, right? You're the person of interest, so to speak, right? So I kind of want to know a little bit, right? So we can help, and everybody will benefit from you. If O'Neill is doing it, then I can do it. I want to have that feeling from others as well, right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Paul. Well, I've been in the pet industry mostly with dogs since the 80s. So that tells you my age. And it's been mostly hands-on. And then in 2000 or about 20 years ago, I came online. I don't get my clients typically from online, and it's more like a page holder or placeholder. And that's got to change. So now I'm doing online courses and I'm recording live ones. I'm in the process right now of putting them up and starting a membership area. And then I want to do some tours and live online training. And that would be mostly with dogs, but it can be any kind of pets, because not only do I do training, I'm also a trainer now for body work and energy work. And so it's cutting edge. Animals are really popular right now. And if I were to say, what's my goal within 12 months, it is to be, I'm going to back up one more time. I have a product that I developed in 2001 and it still sells worldwide. Not big, but it does. And so my name is out there. And I want this, my goal is for Angel Dog to become world renowned with the training, and both with, and I also have a television station I would like to start. I've got the information, but I haven't launched. And so that I have a channel and regular presence online with a growing, healthy, consistent client base. Both individuals, and I really would like to target industries. So I'm like professionals, like veterinarian services, or just larger groups.
Right, perfect. All right, so let me bring up my whiteboard here. Let's discuss, because the reason why I asked this question, a lot of people don't realize, and this is quite important. You got to know what kind of business you have to set up, okay? That every decision you make will be based upon that. when I got started, right, my basic goal was, I want to pay my college tuition, right? So that was my goal. So for my college tuition was, I think, about $100,000 or something, right? So
Okay.
that was the goal. It was very clear cut, and I was basically focused on that particular goal. And when I reached that goal, the decisions that I made to make that 100,000, right, was not the same decision when I want to make more than that, let's say, right? So that's the reason why I say, okay, let's put it this way, right? So what's your income goal? Just give me an income goal that you want to do for yourself. I'm not talking about the business. Let's just say about yourself, right? How much do you want to take home at the end of the next 12 months, let's say? Just any number that would be your
Okay. I'd like to take home 175.
Okay, good. Let's just put it in like in a more rounded figure. Let's do 200, right? So we have
Okay.
200,000 here. Okay, so I'll put this one here. So we have that here. All right. So now everything relies on this decision now on what kind of business do you want to set up, and based on that kind of an approach. So basically what I'm trying to get at here now is, do you want to build a business that's more like passive, in a sense that you want to eliminate yourself out of the equation, meaning while you're sleeping, you're generating a revenue stream. And also, for example, where you did the work maybe once, and then afterwards you're doing maybe a couple of hours a day of work, that kind of thing. Would that be the kind of business you want to build, or you want to build a business that is growing beyond this number that I have for you here? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, it does. It does. And I do want to have it built, and then it does become passive, and it does, and it's just the stream just keeps coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just continue to add more to it and build it more.
Right. Perfect. Yeah, that's also quite important, right? So we want passive here. Let's
Mhm.
just put that, because the reason why I'm telling you this is, when we talk about this number here, you don't need many employees to reach this number. Maybe one, maybe two. Okay.
Nice, nice.
And these can be virtual workers as well, right? Let's just put employees. These can be freelancers as well, and that sort of thing. So this is the biggest mistake a lot of people make, and I've seen this so often, and it's almost crazy. So they will go in something like this, where they'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna build $1 million business." So it goes both ways, right? So they'll be like, "I want to build $1 million business, but I want to do it on my own, right? I don't want any employees or something." Impossible, right? Once you get to that level, the decision making is very different, right? When you're in this 100, 200, I would say even up to 250,000, you don't need that many employees. Maybe for customer support, you might need some, but all the decisions will be coming from you. Okay.
Good.
So that is something you got to establish. Okay. So then what you have to do now is you got to focus based upon this information that I'm going to share with you right now. So first of all, we are at 200,000. So you got to decide what type of product we're going to sell, and also what type of market we're trying to reach. Okay, because you mentioned that you were offline, right? So I'm pretty sure when you're coming to dog training and also behavioral training, you'd want to go for maybe say something along the lines of, let's say it's a puppy dog. You have different, I believe there are these trainings that you can do, which is for the canine training, right? Like almost like you want to get it from the puppy stage to maybe a couple of years old, and then get it to the next level, right? In terms of training, everything is stages. Some people might say, only I need the puppy to sit, stay, you know what I mean? The basics. Some people want to go beyond that, right? And based on that,
Exactly.
they're willing to pay you more money, right? So my
Exactly.
question is, in the higher end, how much is one customer worth to you, give or take? In the higher end, like somebody who wants to do the whole training, they want to do like the best client, right? How much would they pay you?
Is
Roughly?
that for one
Mhm.
package, or is that for a lifetime of the dog?
So think of it like, in a sense that this is your best particular client. You're doing that personally. You actually work with the dog, right? In your local area, whatever. How much would they pay you for that kind of a setup, where they're like, you just take care of the dog. I want the dog to be fully trained. I'm going to pay you whatever you need, right? Or the dog is unruly, not behaving properly. I'll pay you whatever you need to fix the issue, right? How much would they pay you? Or in your dream client, how much would you expect them to pay you?
3,500.
Okay, good. So now we have established 3,500, right? So now how we do this is the maximum the market can withstand, right? So when you go beyond this, let's say you go beyond this, like let's say you go, even sometimes I've seen this, you go 3,600, there'll be resistance in the market, right? And there will be a scenario where even if you try this, it's not going to get you the best results at that price point. Now, this requires a lot of your upkeep too, right? I mean, you have to physically be present. You have to physically train the dog and all that. It takes your time. So this is what I was trying to explain to you, which is, now that we looked at, like, I want to put a little bit of effort, then once I set it up, then the actual the product will do the selling, and I don't have to put in as much effort. So now how you'd want to do this is, basically you'd want to do some kind of a survey or something along the lines from some customers who are purchasing something from you, and just say like, okay, I'm not going to be physically present. I have a lot of clients. Everybody wants to work with me right now. How much would you pay if I created a like a training program, and also maybe like something like I can jump on a group Zoom call once a week or something like that, right? How much are you willing to pay for 6 months of it or 1 year of it, right? And you have to come up with that number, because that number is basically what you will be focusing on. Okay. So let's say that number comes in. I'm just guessing. Because every market is different. In your market, let's say it's $500. Okay. So because this is basically digital, and you jump on a call with the group, like every customer came in, maybe an hour a week. So then once you set up everything, your actual work, if you remove the customer support, might be like 4 hours a month. You know what I mean? Not that much. So it's reasonable, right? So if that 500 is what you've established, then everything will be based on funneling people to this particular product, which is your high margin, high profit product. Okay.
Yes.
So when people say like, okay, I don't want to systemize things, I don't want to focus on it, and don't want to focus on my high margin products, and I want to do everything. You had mentioned like you want to get into the TV station and some other things. The thing should be, if you're going in there, the focus should be to get into that high margin product. Okay. If you do that, it will help you extremely well. And the other thing is, what I want you to do when you get some time, maybe an hour or a couple of hours, just sit down, and the product that you're doing and stuff like that, just say like, okay, let's say product one is like a low ticket, like a book or something, right? It is making me, let's say, 20% of my revenue, right? You're going to do something like this, 20% of my rev, but only like 5% of my profit. You know what I mean? So 5% of the profit. Then you have something like product two. This is this $500 product or whatever we're discussing. It's making 50% of my revenue, or even 20% of your revenue, but the profit is very high for that one. Let's say this profit for this one is like 50% profit. Okay. Now, once you write stuff like this down, right? Focus your efforts in pushing people over there into that particular product. This could be by creating like a ebook that you give away for free, or this could be, for example, where you create some YouTube content or some videos, right? Like educational content. Everything will be predicated on focusing on that one product that you can channel all your traffic to. Okay. So this is something that the most successful business people do. And we were talking about passive, right? That allows you also to channelize your mind to be able to focus on improving that product, because times change, right? Like let's say last year, a doodle or a poodle, right, is like really a popular dog. Now it's all of a sudden it's a German Shepherd now, and your training is completely on a dog which is not as popular these days or something, right?
Good example. Very great example. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can now focus your efforts on that one product, keep everything generic. That product could have updates. That product, you can do other additional things and stuff like that. Okay. So it's very important that you focus on this area. So this one I'm trying to explain to you. Let me just put it in a nice little color here. So this one, product two, product three, whatever you have, even your personal stuff that you're doing, your consulting kind of work where you're trying to help people out locally, right? On a face-to-face basis, can you convert it into more like a digital sphere, where instead of this 1 hour session that you're doing every week, maybe a 1 hour you can spend with that person, right? And help them out, kind of thing, and show them what needs to be done. That could be like a natural upsell or an upgrade kind of thing, right? We generally should never look at upsells as a bad thing. It should look like what more value I'm giving for the people who are willing to pay for it, right? And statistically, there are people, depending on how much the problem is, they're willing to pay more money for that personal attention for you, right?
Right. So, and I am doing that.
Excellent. Perfect. So that is how you look at it. Okay. Now let's go back here. Let me map out something else for you so you understand here. This is something that it took me so long to learn, and it's kind of like in a frustrating way I learned it. So that's why I kind of want to explain this to you. So the way it works, right? Every element of what we do, you have to understand that the customer is all interested in our products or services based on their need. Okay, I want to put it in like very thick thing because it's on the need, and needs change, right? Like if the dog is barking and it's chewing furniture, and then it's is like when some guests come over or family friends come over, it's basically barking at them. That person is in huge need, right, to solve that problem. They're willing to pay you any money. They're willing to dedicate any amount of time. They're reading all your newsletters. They're reading all your marketing and your messaging, right? So the thing is that what we need to figure out is where this audience is hanging out. Okay, so when you're talking about audience building, you want to figure out where is this audience hanging out, and you will be very surprised. They'll be in like the most weirdest places. Like they could be in like local neighborhood type of application, right? There are these neighborhood applications, right, in many suburban areas. So maybe you could advertise in those applications, right? Like your neighborhood or in my neighborhood, for example, we have like a couple of apps right there where they notify people on like what the new events are and stuff like that. So that is a very cheap form of advertising because the people who built it, they didn't care about advertising. You pay them like $50 a month, they'll be happy to advertise you, right? Neighborhood apps, right? This is very, very good. We are actually testing this for one of our real estate niches that we're in, right? For real estate agents and stuff like that, and it's working really, really well. So this is like, there's an app, you advertise here. Okay, simple, straightforward. You figure out who it is. Second thing would be Facebook groups. I'm talking about free traffic here, right? Facebook groups of maybe people who have a certain type of a dog breed or whatever, and you say, look, I can give some free content that I have for your group. Would you be okay if I share it with you? Stuff like that, right? So the key thing is we have to always reverse engineer our process when you're trying to build a successful business that can last a long period of time. Is we got to figure out, okay, I know what product is because you're in this space for 20 years, as you said, right? Your question online should be all about audience. Where are you going to find that audience, right? And your ideas every day should be like, okay, where is that a new place I can find, and stuff like that, where you can reach that audience. And the other thing also that you could do is once you figure out where your ad audience hangs out, then you can figure out on products. Okay, what products can I create for that particular audience based on their need, right? And the thing is with products, it's very straightforward. It's a person who's in extreme need, who wants a solution quickly. You know already what those issues are, right? Like it won't listen to commands. Like the basics of sit stay would not listen to it, chewing things or basic things, right? So when you're talking about it, when you're creating your content, whether it's free content, whether it is like social media content or whatever you're trying to do, meaning the content that you're sharing to this group, you know what I mean? So basically, let's say this is the content you're sharing to that group. That content should be right to the point. Okay. So what's happening these days that we are noticing on social media and stuff like that, people like people who go to the point. Okay, I want you to write this down. Okay, every time you're trying to create like a piece of content or something, just get to the point. Nobody cares who O'Neill is. O'Neill has 20 years. They don't care anymore. They don't care who Paul is anymore, right? They're like, oh, my dog is barking. Let me open up my phone and let me chat. Like, let me search for a solution, right? And then when you say, okay, 5 tips to get your dog to stop barking right now, or 1 tip to get your dog to behave in front of strangers, right? Or something like that, they're more likely to reach traction, right? And when they watch that video fully, the more people who finish that video, even if it's a 1-minute video or whatever, that video gets more reach. That is on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere right now. Okay. So the best way that I can try to explain to you is figure out the audience who's the most need, where are they hanging out? And, Yash was, I believe, explaining to you, you can find them with Google searches. You can run ads with some long tail keywords, I believe. That is one strategy, right? When people are searching for it, they're like, it'll be something like this: how to stop dog to bark now, right? It'll be like how and then now, right? Immediately. So these are the now. Now is the keyword that you'll have the urgency of doing. So that is the main thing. So marketing, you've been in the space for so long, you already know. It's just basically you have an audience, right? Audience to which you sell a product, and then you basically make a profit out of it, right? Basically, and that audience will, once they pay something from you, they're 600% more likely to buy something else from you, right? So at this point, you're thinking, what other products do I offer them, right? They're 600% more likely to pay you more money, 600% more likely to listen to your messaging and stuff like that. So now this, we have some clarity. You're following with me so far, right? You're following me?
I am.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. All right. So now the next question I wanted to ask you is the so basically the products that you're creating. Have you gotten any testimonials or something like that from people that you work locally? Because you work with them personally, they're more likely to give you like a video or testimonial or something like that, right? Have you
Mhm.
gone around that process?
Yes, I have those and I can get more.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So what we do is you have to also realize that when we are trying to build products on the internet, right? These days, especially, I'm noticing quite a bit is personal brand is very important. Okay. So what happens is like when you're online, right? People want to know who they're buying from. Okay. It's not like, oh, 10 tips of barking or to stop barking of the dog, or even if you have a product called like the ultimate dog barking solution, or the ultimate solution to train a puppy or something like that. It used to work before where the brand used to be the product, right? Now in the last 2 or 3 years especially, the brand has to be a person. No matter how much, you'll see this with, even if you go in the bigger stages, right? Back in the day, if you look at the companies like Oracle, or you look at some of these big billion-dollar companies, not many people knew who the actual person who founded it. They know the CEO maybe, but they didn't know. Like eBay, you don't know who founded eBay, for example, or who's even running eBay, right? But if you see Tesla, everybody knows it's Elon Musk, right? So
Right.
that brings affinity. They know who to complain to if something goes wrong. They know who to send some good feedback if something is going right? So every time that you're trying to build a product on the internet these days, focus on this first. Okay, this should be your major focus. Because what happens is otherwise, you're like, oh, I'm going to focus on the domain name. I'm going to get the best domain name for my, doesn't matter anymore, right? I'm going to sit for 1 week thinking about like the best product name. Doesn't matter, right? It's about
Okay,
only,
that's good to know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's irrelevant. Like I'm telling you, you could even have like some domain name that doesn't end with .com or .net or something, and still people show up if the brand is set up, right? Now, the second thing that you have to figure out, and that I was trying to tell you, is you also want to make sure, and this is very important, okay, what type of business you want to build for the next 5 years or something like that. So what I mean by that, okay, and this is the reason why a lot of folks are there. I've personally, like, the live streams that I was doing, I'm doing a little bit less of these because I've focused on what type of business to build. So what I mean by that, O'Neill, is, and to the folks who are watching, is basically, do you want to sell your business to somebody else in the future? Okay, O'Neill. So what we want to think about is, a lot of what's happening right now. Yeah, there's high interest rates, there's high inflation, and all that stuff. When inflation goes up a lot, there's a huge demand for money, looking to buy businesses, looking to buy things, looking to buy real estate, looking to buy other things. Even though it may be short term, the longer term is there's these pension funds and these sovereign wealth funds of like these big countries, like even the central bank of Switzerland, for example, they have like these billions of dollars. So what they'll do is they'll give it to somebody who's investing in businesses like yours and stuff like that. So this is what I was trying to tell you, right? You want to decide what type of a business you want to get in, because if your business is just like, okay, I'm happy making 200 grand a year and I want to do that for the next 5, 10, 15 years and I'm good, then you want to focus on your personal brand, yes, but also you want to focus on what products to add to that existing customers. Everything that you're probably already learning from us is very clear. But if your goal is to sell your business tomorrow, your
Mhm.
focus changes. It will become on what kind of a team can I set up? Like even my customer support team, are these folks automated? If I am not on a day-to-day business, like if I don't even, I go on vacation for 1 month. Can my team handle it, right? Can I get them to take over things? When this is there, you can then focus on the selling of the business kind of thing, right? I don't want to,
That's what I'm interested in.
you're interested in this, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't want to confuse you too much, but you understand what I'm saying, right? It's like the beginning stages of what decisions you make is all
Mhm.
based on what your end goal will be, right? And
Right.
and this is basically what I always made a mistake on, because I used to listen to somebody who would be like, oh, build your personal brand. This is your focus. But when you're trying to sell a business, that's not your major focus. It's team building. You know what I mean? So once you realize what you want to do, your decision making, the way you do everything changes. Okay. Now, what happens, right? In a personal brand scenario, let's say you want to sell your business next year or whatever. If it's a personal brand and something like that, you will get something like less than 1x your actual, I believe, the yearly profit. Okay. So that means, let's say you're making profit of $100,000, a maximum you can sell a business that's focused on only you. You're the only person who's making the decisions. You're the person who's doing everything. You can sell it
Right.
for $100,000, right? When a business has a team and it
Mhm.
has growth channels, like it has an advertising system, marketing system, and all that stuff. It minimum right now, minimum it goes to 7x. 7x the profit. That is for a brick and mortar business. Like, if assuming that's what you're doing, local coaching and stuff, it can go even up to, if it is actually a business that has a clear way of growth without your existing output and stuff like that, it can go even right now, because with COVID, everything became expensive. Basically, it can go up to 35x revenue. Okay. Now it's not even profit anymore. It's revenue, right? So this is what I'm trying to say. If your
Wow.
the next 2 to 3 years is this, then if your revenue is like 1 million, you could sell it for 35 million, right? If your revenue is like whatever, right? Let's say it's $500,000, you can sell it for maybe 20 times or something like that. So when your decisions are based on this, your focus also becomes very clear, right? One of the biggest problems people have is they're like, I don't know what to do, because Paul tells me one time do TikTok. Yash tells me do Google search, or I hear this other guru or somebody telling me do this thing. Right? It is basically, we need to start in stages, and the decision making is outlined based on that. Okay. So now let's assume this is our goal, right? We want to sell the business. We want to sell
Yeah.
it, and we want to focus on this as a goal. Still, we want to know what's happening behind the scenes, because the person you sell the business to, they'll be like, O'Neill, okay, great. I bought this business. That's all great, but can you actually for example, let's say, for example, right, like, great, I'm buying, but we have some risk. Like, what if tomorrow, like, we want to run this, we don't know, can you hang on in this business for a couple of years? We're going to give you 20% stake in that business, and then you can sell it to us 2 3 years down the line. Once it's basically the business is stabilized, we can take over, right? So
Mhm.
this is another reason why what we teach doesn't go to waste. I mean, it's not going to be like you're going to hire somebody like a team, and then they're gonna figure it out from day one, right? You got to still give them direction and stuff like that. So basically, keeping this in mind, let's run through this here, because you've done the hard work, right? It's just about doing the right decisions right now, because it's like you already know the market you want to get into, you already know your audience more or less. You now want to figure out how to consistently make some revenue. Okay. So
Mhm.
in your business, all I would do is just make, right, more offers. Okay. Very important. Okay. Simple offers. Like, everything will be hinging right now on how you can make more offers. That should be your first focus. That could be as simple as like, hey folks, I have this $7 ebook that I want to give you folks, but that $7 could lead to, like, your $500 program, right? Or it could be something like, hey, I have this new course, or like a digital product that I have for you, that is going to allow you to basically get the main issues, like the basics, right? So, like, if you're trying to cast a big net, what is the most important thing people want? They want the dog to just behave to basic commands, right? Not like advanced. Like, they don't expect the dog to do tricks and stuff just yet. They want to solve a major issue, right? So that is your big net, right? So this big net is your generic product that you're trying to serve everybody. You want to have this product, okay? Very important, right? in our industry, in my industry, or what I'm dealing with in the software space, or even when you go real estate and some other industries that I'm in, my focus is completely on initially getting this generic product or a generic service or generic whatever that reaches everybody. So let's say if it's in the real estate space, it's a real estate agent I'm dealing with, or a mortgage broker or somebody. I want to cast a big net and create a generic product that would say how to get financing on a commercial property, office space, on a residential property, or rental, or whatever it might be, right? A business, financing a business. It's like a big net I'm casting, and it'll be strategies there. And then I can sort it down and focus on the high value, high margin clients who are going to pay me the big bucks. Okay. So this is one generic product that I want you to create if you don't have it already, or you can even, like, you have a product you created before. Let's say it was 10 courses or 10 video sessions, just package it into one, which focuses on this generic thing. Okay. This can be priced very low too. Price is low. So price low. So what happens, like I said, right? We could be the greatest marketers in the world. We could share with you like the greatest marketing strategies or whatever, the latest, coolest thing. But the problem is, it is all, like I told you, based on the need, right, O'Neill, right? Like if that person
Yeah.
does not have the
Yeah.
need anymore, they're not going to buy it, right? And they probably had that need 6 months ago, but they don't have it just yet. You know what I mean? Needs change. And I cannot convince somebody, and I cannot create that need. Okay. So that is something that I always focus on, is with this generic product, we are trying to get those people with the need to come to our world, so to speak. Okay. If you study somebody in our space, like a Russell Brunson, Expert Secrets, he'll have that book, get every generic person into that. Experts is such a very broad term, right? He's not focusing on like Google search engine ranking secrets or Google this or something, but it's more like experts, anybody who's an expert. Or if you see even in a bigger sphere, like if you see Apple, right? Their big generic product is their phone, but if you go even deeper, like they'll have stuff like earpods, or they'll have other products that are specific to that generic audience who might be of interest, right? So you want to create that mass market, mass appeal generic product. And that product is what you're going to, wherever you do your messaging and stuff, will get pushed to, because you're going to go into some specialized markets and you try to reach, you're always going to undersell yourself, represent yourself as well, because there are people who have generic problems who need a solution, and you go too deeper, like, oh, I'm going to teach your dogs how to do all these tricks, and they're like, they can't even go to step one, which is to get the dog to sit and stay, right? Then you're missing that bigger market. Okay, the bigger market is always people who have very small problems, and if you solve them, you're like a magician to them. Okay, so this is something that you need to figure out. Okay, get that generic product and
Yeah.
get that ready in your marketing and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then one other thing I wanted to kind of uh, explain to you today is this concept of also, and one thing that separates, I guess, with what I'm saying, sometimes people kind of tell me this is, Paul, that's all great, but show me some tactics, like how do I generate like a revenue stream right away? The thing is, if you don't have your foundations correctly, then no matter what I teach you, what I tell you, it's kind of gonna not be applicable to you. Like if I say, okay, O'Neill, go to a video on TikTok and go to some content. TikTok is doing really well. It is one of the fastest video platforms right now in terms of traffic and organic reach. But if you don't have a generic product, then that is useless. You see, that effort is useless, because that mass market, your video went viral. How are you going to monetize that audience, right? So this is what you got to figure out and create that. And then the other thing is very quite important, is in terms of copywriting. Okay, this is something that every entrepreneur, no matter what they say, they need to know this. Okay, and this is more important online than anywhere else out there. So O'Neill, what's your experience with copywriting? Have you studied anything about copywriting, like writing headlines or descriptions, stuff like that, or sales pages? Like, as do you say, are you intermediate level, beginner, advanced? Like where do you think you are?
I'd say I'm intermediate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So what we need to do is, with copywriting, it's very straightforward, right? I know I'm talking about a lot of things here, but I want to make sure that, the call here, you get the most value, right, of being here. So when it
Thank
comes
you.
to copywriting, let's talk about that. So we established that audience already has need for something, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so let's say we have a market which already has a need. So that is very critical. I cannot create need out of thin air. If somebody is interested in training, basically getting their dog to stop barking or chewing furniture or something, there is a need. I cannot have somebody who does not have a pet to have that need, right? It's irrelevant then. Then once the need is there, you want to create an offer for them, which is say generic or whatever, generic offer to reach them, right? Everybody who has a problem, so generic offer. And then the third thing that I want you to do when it comes to copywriting, Anil, we can talk about headlines, we can talk about all these other things, but have a really strong risk reversal. Okay. This is probably the most important thing that anybody can probably teach you. Okay, I'll dig deeper into what risk reversal really means right now. It is basically you eliminate all the risk for the offer. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Right, in your market, what do you think is the biggest risk somebody has? Like, let's say they are buying your product, or even when locally somebody asked you like, hey O'Neill, can you come help my dog, please? I'll really appreciate if you can help. Like I'm in deep, I'm running a big issue because nobody wants to visit. My in-laws don't want to visit my house because my dog is, biting them or basically something along those lines. What is their major apprehension in purchasing your product? Basically, what do you see? Like, is it the price? Is it like whether the issue will solve their problem? What is it generally?
It's something that you said. It's that the people aren't willing to change their lives. They just want the animal to change. That's the biggest thing. And they have to be involved to have it happen.
Correct. I see what you're saying now. But if we tell them that, they're not going to accept it, right? So the way it works is, this is also something I tell people all the time, which is basically like, if I were to contact 100 of our customers in any industry and I say, what are your three major problems right now? They will say things which everybody already knows, right? Like it'll be something like, say, for example, it'll be something along the lines of like, I have this, price is the problem. Somebody might say, the product is not the right fit for me at this moment. Somebody might say, I have an issue because there's no time, right? You see this price,
Right.
urgency, and then time, right? That's the basic thing we always hear. And we can create risk reversal for that everybody knows, which is, you don't have any time. This only takes you 30 minutes or something to learn and implement. Or you don't have like the money, we can give you a payment plan or something else like that, right? Or you have, you don't have enough, say, for example, resources, or you feel this is too confusing for you. Okay, I've simplified this for you. That is basic stuff that everybody kind of already knows. How I like to look at it is like, what is the deep pain that they have, right? And I focus on that. And this is very important in industries like yours. So what I mean by deep pain is, what is their major issue? It is embarrassment, right? Right.
I
So
would say yes.
right, because they're embarrassed that when somebody like their in-laws come over, or like their relatives come over, their friends come over, and this dog is barking, is not listening, it feels like they did not do a good job raising the dog, so to speak, right? Like
Yeah.
they have not done a good job, or they have not taken, and it also looks bad on them, like they're not a caring person, not investing their time or something, right? This is actually even bigger of a selling point than price, or like urgency, or any of those things that you probably know. So in my marketing, to do the risk reversal, what we focus on is we drill and drill this point of embarrassment, and anything related to that which they may not say openly, right? Another thing they may not say openly is like, like they don't want to admit that they're not willing to change, right? You said that. So in a better way to put it, you're not going to blame them, but you could be something like, say, for example, in my case, I do it in a much more sweeter way, which would be like, circumstances around you eliminate you from doing what is required to take care of the dog. Maybe the hectic schedule that you have, blah blah blah, right? Whatever it is, and we drill home the point, which is the dog feels neglected. Okay.
Ooh.
So basically, it's not going to be able to tell you, hey, I'm, I'm feeling neglected, but it'll show some signs by showing its frustration and stuff like that. So now the drilling of the point that I would say here is, hey, do you want to be the person who is neglecting, your baby, your pet here? And do you want to actually be in a situation where the dog loves you, and also it will, be more kinder to strangers, because the main problem is it's feeling neglected, and that is your fault that it's being neglected. That's much better way of saying than, hey, you need to change, right? Hey, you need to do something. It's being, hey, the dog is feeling neglected. The dog feels like it's getting left behind. It feels like it's not being part of the family. So what you need to do is get it into Fred. So meaning getting into your family, and try to do some small changes to make that happen. They're more willing to listen. So when I'm doing my marketing, and this is just two of them I got right off the bat, but like, you could write down what are the deep desires of the market, what are the deep pains. These two is what my copywriting will be focused on. Okay. And these two is what I'm going to do my risk reversal on as well. Right. So embarrassment, like, hey, like, one of the biggest problems you might be having is you might be feeling embarrassed that, when somebody walks in, they might think you're not good enough to raise a pet, or you don't have the kindness to be able to take care, or whatever the case might be. Now let me eliminate that issue for you. What I'm going to do is, you buy this product, and within about a week, the dog is going to do the basic commands that it requires, where people will actually start petting the dog, petting the puppy, and now they're going to think you are a rock star. You're the best person in the world, because the dog is behaving and doing those little things. And it just takes you maybe a few minutes every day for about a week to do these basic things. And then we can talk about the advanced tricks and other things, or even, how to behave when it's going outside the house, right? Like outside of its comfort zone. And then we can discuss that. So you see how I changed the copywriting now into deep pain of somebody, rather than talking about how great my product is, rather than talking about how great I am, right? Or how great, the customer is, and we're like trying to beg them so to buy or something. So what happens is, you need to figure out this deep desire and the deep pain that people have, because ultimately what's happening right now around the world is, people, because of this online sphere, people don't have anybody to share their actual problems with, right? Like before, we used to meet people, we used to tell people, hey, this is my frustrations and stuff. Now it's so digital that, O'Neill, you become the family member if you solve this issue for them. And they're willing to pay you any amount of money going forward, because you solve that basic embarrassment for them, or that feeling that they're neglecting their pet. Who wants to be that villain in their life, right? For their dog. So nobody wants to be the villain, right? Even if they made some mistakes, they don't want to be responsible for it. So when it comes to copywriting, and when it comes to your videos, your content, I would dig deep into this, and then figure out how we can solve these issues. So it'll be like, are you embarrassed, right? Like, I'll go back. Are you embarrassed? I have a solution for that, right? I'll solve it to you quickly, right? Are you feeling like the dog is not being taken care of? Basically, are you feeling like you're neglecting your pet, your baby, and you feel guilty, right? You feel guilty about it, right? So guilty, right? Let's use that word, guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guilty, right? Are you feeling guilty about it? I have a solution for you. Now what happens is, that person like, yeah, internally I feel that way, right? And this person is addressing that issue for me, and I'm going to pay them money, because nobody else is addressing that point. Everybody's talking about how good they are, how great their experience is, how good their product is. This is the only person who's talking about, like, the embarrassment that I feel, not being able to, control my pet when it's around, like, even little children or my nephews or nieces, and I feel bad about it, because in my dream world, I want them to come and play with my pet, right? Like, that's my ideal world. So you see how, right? Even in your marketing, you could put like ideal scenario. You can get some royalty free footage and get an ideal world, like a perfect world, like two little children playing and petting a pet, going in the park and playing, or something like that. You show one of those footages and that dream scenario, and you basically amplify the pain and amplify the pleasure as well, so to speak, right? That's how good copywriting in your industry specifically is, right?
Yeah.
Amplify the pain. Okay. And And it's not like a lot of people say, are you frustrated trying to train your pet? That's basic stuff. But like, are you embarrassed? That's much more. Are you feeling guilty that you're not being able to do these words? Hit home. Like it really digs deep into the actual issues that they're facing, and you get a lot better results doing it. And also, people don't question anymore about price, or hey, your videos are only like 30 minutes long in total. I paid you like $200 only for 30 minutes content. I was expecting like 30 hours worth of content. You don't get those kind of buyers when you're actually digging deeper into this. You understand what I'm saying? It's no longer about like, oh, the basic stuff. So when we do this, our marketing, when we're talking about the generic offer, right? You see this? It's much more powerful because you're no longer focusing on like, the basic fundamental things like 10 tips on how to get your dog to behave or blah, blah, blah. This is basically something that they're exposed to quite a bit. It doesn't get that many results. Go into the deeper stuff that they're facing in their life that is actually impacting them, that is actually deep within them, that is actually causing them pain. Okay. So when you amplify the pain, they're more likely to be receptive and they're more likely to buy from you. This is how you got to do. So when you're doing copywriting or any other material that you're doing, even your testimonials, by the way, right? When you're interviewing people on testimonials, right? You want to ask them questions like, hey, did you ever feel embarrassed, right? Trying to do that. And they'll say, yes, I was. Like, it was something that I feel. Now you're hitting home the point, right? Did you feel like you were feeling guilty about like neglecting your dog and you're not taking care of the dog properly? Did you feel guilty about it? Like, I know it must be hurting you inside. They'll be like, yeah. And when somebody's watching that content, they're like, it's exactly what I feel, right? Internally. And emotions are much more easier to generalize than actual topics of content, Like if I say 10 tips on how to get my German Shepherd to be able to sit, stay, or, be calm in terms of, in different adversity it's facing or whatever, then that's very generic. It's like, oh, okay, fine. But if I say something like this, it hits a German Shepherd owner, it hits somebody who owns, a golden doodle or golden retriever or Labrador retriever, whatever, it doesn't really matter. It hits every single owner. You see my point? That's why you gotta go for this type of marketing. You gotta go into the deeper scenario and how you can reduce that risk. Okay. Because what happens is if it's in the finance product, right? Like if it was some stock trading thing or whatever, then the risk is like, I'm going to lose my money, right? But in industries like yours, the risk is not actually the money. It's not the time. It's not all these other things that people think. It's more like what's deeper within it, right? Why are they actually coming to you? Like most likely the person started searching because the dog was very aggressive towards their nephew or niece, and they felt guilty that the dog is going to bite them. And, they could see the fear in that nephew or the niece who they love, that, oh, instead of petting the dog and being kind, that nephew or their niece, a little child, is actually scared, right? And that is not the ideal scenario that they expected, or why they wanted to buy a pet or even be a parent with a pet, right? So this is what you want to focus on, okay? Especially in your industry, it becomes very, very important, okay? And when you actually focus on this, it'll make your life easy as well, because you don't have to give like very, what do we call, outlandish claims, right? You cannot say like, one tip in 1 second, get your dog to behave. Like you see these days. You don't have to do that too here, because you're really focusing on the underlying pain, right? So think about that. Like, are you seeing some ideas right now? Like, what are some pain points that you've seen from people you've spoken to?
Oh, absolutely. I was cruel, and I don't want anybody to know it, and I can see it on my dog. And in fact, I was doing all the wrong things. This is brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when I've done copywriting for last, I think, over 10 years now, right? I used to be very every copywriting, the thing is, there's no one way to do it for every industry. Every industry changes depending on what target audience you're reaching. But the underlying pain point is where they're actually searching for a solution, because you're trying to find a person with need, right? It's like they're most likely half the time, because of social media, it's no longer like they're not going to Instagram and searching like, oh, I need to solve my dog from barking. They're not searching. Like they're just browsing, and then it hits them, right? that which is their problem. It's the same way, like it's no longer with Google. Like back in the day, Google, like they would search for something that is straightforward, but social media is like 80% of the traffic right now. So these people, they have an underlying problem, but they're like, they're not really addressing it until it becomes an emergency. At that point, they'll probably go search on Google or ask somebody for help or whatever. But majority of the people, they're like in this daze, right? Like we like to call it, like they are in a walking daze. Like even if you see, right, you probably notice this when you're walking on the road sometimes, and you know somebody, you've seen that person, you even tell them, hey Bob, hey, how are you doing? And they don't listen to you, they're just walking, right? The thing is, this is how 80% of the world does. Like everything that they do is like in that zombie state, like subconscious state. They're not paying attention because their mind is occupied with so many things. To wake them up and get them, you gotta basically do these things, right? You gotta hit them where it hurts. And it hurts more in places that they probably didn't think, right? They might be feeling, okay, my dog is not behaving, but I'll try to solve it one day. Maybe I'll try to go watch a YouTube video and do it. And they're not really addressing the problem, right? But
Exactly.
when you say you're not a good parent, it hurts. It hurts. It hits where it hurts. And they need to hear that too, because you're saying the change has to happen with them. They're not going to listen to you when you're going to say, hey, you need to change, you need to do this. They're not going to listen to you. If you say, hey, do you want to be a good parent or a bad parent? Do you want your dog to be neglected and you always feel guilty about it? Or you want to be in a scenario where you feel happy about things? Or you want to be in a scenario where you are in a perfect scenario, you have the perfect pet and you feel happy about every day petting and sharing the memories that you have with the pet, with your baby, to your family, your friends and stuff like that, right? The time that you spend, time is limited. You are actually having a joy sharing some great moments, right, with your family, with others that you care about, right? Little things like this mean a lot for a lot of people, and it wakes them out from that slumber of that subconscious mind that is driving their day-to-day life. Okay, so we could discuss like how to write titles and all that, but when you have these and you have like, the more you have, right, like let's say you have 10 of these list of real pain points that's deep down being problematic for them, that is 10 times more you can reach in terms of content, 10 times more that you can make in terms of revenue, 10 times you can focus on your products to be better, right? Because ultimately you're actually doing the underlying problem, and you're actually hitting it head on. You're not like running around the bushes trying to be, it's all sweet, you don't have to change much, you don't have to be like be any different than anything else. You just have to do these little tweaks, one or two things. They'll be like, oh, that's good, and they're gonna buy, and then they're gonna forget about it. And that's not the kind of customer you want anyways, because like I said, you don't want those kind of people who are just dabbling with something. You want people who are really serious and they're trying to do whatever it takes to solve that problem. Those are the kind of people who will come back and give you testimonials. Those are the people who will come back and pay you more money for more help, because they're no longer looking at you like a product creator or like a saleswoman. They're looking at you like a real solution provider, right, for their problems. So you want to address that. And you've probably seen that in your life too, right? When you actually say, hey, look, listen, I'm an expert. You need to do what I tell you to do and you'll get better results. It's much better way where they're going to get results you want them to get, right? Obviously, I'm pretty sure you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, see, what I was doing, Paul, is I was focusing on the dog's needs and not the person's needs. And so I was like going, why isn't this important? Because it's really about how the person feels. So it's a flip.
Absolutely. And who is buying it? Not the dog.
I know. Yeah. So this is great. This is really helpful.
Right. So yeah, basically these are all fundamentals, but when we drill down deeper, it's going to help you a lot better to be when you're communicating with people, when you're trying to do it, it'll simplify things for you, right? So that's why when sometimes you read some marketing books or whatever, you're like, oh, he said create more offers, said sell more products to my existing customers, try to find new ways to get customers. That's all stuff we already know. It is about how do we maximize the limited time we have in focusing where we wanted to do, right? And this also allows you to kind of be very broad in our reach, right? And be able to get all the customers in the market that we can position to get And then when we specify and go in deeper as well, you can create 2 or 3 different divisions in your one company, because now you have like the one generic offer, which is reaching a lot of people. Then you have that specialized offer. Then you can even do some consulting, like I said, which can be like, if you want that 1 hour consultation with me, pay me, I don't know, $500 for it or $350. It's much more easier now because the numbers work in your favor, rather than working against you, right? If there are 1,000 customers, even if 1% of them come through, that's about 10 to 15, 20, 30 people who can actually come, and they actually will pay you that consultations as well. That could be your, high margin, very less time commitment type of offer as well, because, that person is more likely to buy a lot of stuff. Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to also tell you, is when you drive home the point and you drill through, and you actually get the traction that you need, right? And you're getting some sales, you're doing well and stuff like that. You remember I talked about that brand aspect, right? Like, but that brand and basically building your personal brand and stuff like that. What I'm noticing quite a bit, and this is one of the reasons why I do the stuff like with our customers, just like you, is people are needing personal touch. Okay, I'll even put it in a different thing. Personal touch. So what happens here is that in this world right now, right, there's so much attention deficit that if I were to email you, right, if I were to email you, or if I were to communicate with you on social media and stuff, it's like, I'd rather people know me than me knowing somebody, right? So if next time around, O'Neill, because we're doing this call together, next time around you actually see my marketing message or something, like, I know Paul, I spoke to him, and I also bought some products from him, but I also spoke with him. So therefore, out of 100 other people, this one guy I know, and I'm most likely to click because I have a better experience. I know personally, right? So where you can, try to add this into your marketing, okay? Especially with the very high-end customers, okay? The people, they're dream customers, right? Like, you're a dream customer of mine because you're actually paying attention to things. You're focusing on growing your business. You're serious, right?
Oh, yeah.
So your dream customers, try to give this personal attention. This could be like a free weekly webinar, like when you create a Facebook group, or even maybe
Yeah.
have, like, say, a small community you built with them somewhere. Try to give them some time, okay? Maybe a couple of hours a week or whatever, because what happens is, this could be, even if you don't want to just focus on those few, you want to even focus this on this generic offer customers who just bought based on what, wherever you can, try to address them by their name. So like, if you have like a Zoom call or a GoToWebinar or whatever for free, and you're bringing them in, 100 people are on there. It's like, hey, Bob, hey, what's happening? What's your major points? Write it down in the chat box. Melissa, can you please write down what your issue is? And when they write them down and you're addressing them, right, next time when they see your email, next time that they see something, you're much more unique to them than every other person who's selling dog training products or whatever it might be, right? So just look at that, because it sounds simple, but it's extremely powerful. Because when we're talking about margins like that, when we're talking about conversion, we talk about advertising, right? That 1, 2, 3% more sales that you got makes that whole thing profitable. You know what I mean? Like if you got 3 more sales for $500 product at $1,500 that you made, that $1,500 could help you keep running advertising or keep paying a customer support staff that you have and stuff like that. It's all margins, at the level that you're playing. It's all margins. It's like little here, little there makes a big difference for you to keep running long term, right? And what we're also noticing as well is I want you to keep in mind this other thing about consistency, okay?
Okay.
So in your messaging, in your thing, in your advertising, in everything, try to keep doing what you do for a longer period of time. And that is what is going to make you that personal brand, that builds you that brand. So what I mean is, say, for example, if you're saying, I have 10 ideas, right? I want to do a YouTube channel. I want to do go to TikTok, or I want to go to Instagram. I want to do advertising on Google, on Facebook. Then whichever channel you want to go, or those 2 or 3, think of it like next 2 years, I'm going to do this every day. You know what I mean? Like every day I'm going to focus some effort on it. Every day I'm going to invest something on it. Because what's happening these days is there's so many people out there who, funnily enough, right? Like who will try something because they heard somebody do it. They'll try and then they'll give up so fast, right? And we don't think of it like that. So I'll give you an example. So in our real estate space that I'm in, we're running these search ads on Google, right? Like just like how you might be running like somebody searching for a problem, they're trying to look for, in this case, let's say somebody's typing in, how do I sell my house within 30 days? Let's say 800 people are searching for that. In your case, it'll be like, how do I stop my dog from chewing furniture right now? Maybe that's your keyword, right? So when people are searching for that, everybody knows that's like a really hot keyword that you want to tap into. So then you'll see a couple of other competitors of yours will come in, and let's say it's costing you 50 cents per click or $1 per click for that particular ad. Somebody is going to come in and spend $1 or double or triple of yours, right? What you need to do in that kind of a case, don't stop the ad, just lower the budget. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Lower the budget down to say $10 a day or something like that. So what happens is these guys that come in, they're thinking they're so great, they run, and then after a week they disappear because they're not profitable. And then you can bump up your ads again. So we see this sometimes, right? When you're spending millions of dollars in advertising across different verticals, what happens is even in social media, YouTube, and other things that we're doing, not just advertising, but even content, like we'll see sometimes things we're getting 3x, 4x, 5x the profit from what we're spending or what time we're investing. And then suddenly in like 1 or 2 weeks, we see like losses, right? And we're like, oh, we're going to shut things down. I used to be that way like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. We should shut things down. We're going to stop this. We're going to do this. And then what happens is when you do that, you basically eliminated yourself from the market, and that person, you've benefited that person is competing with you because that person is getting cheaper clicks and stuff right now. If you stick around, that person is going to give up. They're going to move on to something else. And most times what happens is people are doing promotions for limited time, right, during Black Friday or whatever specials that they're doing. And they stop that after that period, and then they move on to something else, right? So just consistency is very important, okay? Whatever you do, don't be in a situation where you're like, oh, I'm going to do all these 10 things, but I'm not going to do consistency with anything, okay? Because that's how you beat competition these days. Whatever you're doing, it should be like continually. And that's why it comes down to like what you enjoy doing, right? It could be content or ads or whatever it is you're enjoying doing this on a regular basis, right? So that's one. Then the other thing that I would recommend also is while you're doing this, and again, you can watch this later on as well, right? Obviously, to get some ideas, is when you're creating your audience and you're basically trying to reach people, just eliminate your emotions out of the way, okay? Don't bring emotions into business decision making. Like this could be when you're hiring people. This could be, for example, when you're running advertising, when you're creating content and stuff like that. The reason why is like when you're trying to get yourself out there, build your personal brand, you're gonna get people who are gonna disparage you, or they're gonna be people who are gonna say some things against you. There are gonna be people also who will be like, even say for example, you would think, right, like, oh, I'm trying to build this business and this person is trying to do this stuff for me or whatever, right? So the key goal is try not to do it. And what I mean by that is I'll explain to you. So what a lot of people used to do, like I used to do this, like I'll show you. So I'll go here. So like when you go and you search for your product name or something, right, you're going to see people, who might not be in your best interest. You want to protect your reputation. All that stuff is different, but you'll see some things like, let's say, for example, if I have any of my own products, right? So if I do Dual Maker or whatever, I type in, there are going to be products here. Some people are advertising, some people are saying things or whatever, or even my other products like this Get Genius or whatever. I'm just saying this is in real estate space or whatever. There'll be people who run advertising against my product, right? I used to get, they're leveraging off of my branding and stuff like that.
Right.
Now I look at it like, don't think things personally. Don't take anything personally. It's fine. If they're trying to do that, they're basically bottom feeders, right? Like they're trying to do little things. You're moved on to bigger level stuff, right? You're the elephant, and the elephant does not care about the ant. You know what I mean? So think of it that way. So that's one of my mentors actually taught me that. So I'm like, and I think of it like that all the time, because an elephant, when it's doing its thing, the last thing it cares is what the ant is doing, right? And if you care, then you're not focused on your end result. So that's one important thing that I would recommend with whatever you're doing, whether it's ads, whether it's marketing, putting yourself out there, the products. Even when you drill home a scenario where you're saying, look, you are not a good parent, and you might be feeling that way. Some people get offended by that, right? Who doesn't, like? So you're going to feel that pressure. Don't worry about it. Look at it like, okay, I'm the elephant. These people are the ants. It doesn't matter in the bigger, grander scheme of things. Don't worry about these little things. Okay. Now the any other questions you had, just let me know. Like anything like you wanted to ask me or something like that, because because I've been talking, I'd rather go through it in a more interactive way.
This has been just spectacular. Thank you so much. And if we were to drop back again over to that, I'd want to have this business moving with the ideal of selling it like in 5 years. Is this where I want to be right here? Is there any other changes to it that I need to be going like at, 2 years, you need to shift? Or do I just stay with this for right now and then come back to it later?
So this is what you got to look at it. Okay. It's about what your end goal is, right? So end goal meaning if you want to retire, you want to sell it, but also be in the game a little bit such that like, you want to do it for fun now, right? You don't want to be bored.
Right.
You're in the golf course or like you're just sitting at home watching Netflix. Already it's boring. As an entrepreneur, you probably understand what I'm saying. So in that kind of scenario, it's actually in your benefit to structure the deal in such that you say something like this, right? So let me actually open so my whiteboard. Something's wrong here, but anyway, live events is what happens. So anyway, I'll do it this way. So let's say this is how it works, right? So let me open this app here. That should be good. So how you have to look at everything is that you have to look at it in the perspective, how can I make the company as valuable as possible, right? When you look at that then everything becomes easy. So let's look at what an end investor. So let's say I'm trying to buy your business, right? What am I looking for, right? So let's look at it. First thing is I want to make sure that when you're basically out of the business, right, you have a team in place, right? So this could be one person, 2%, 3%, 4, whatever. What they say, it's called something called a management team. You don't have to worry about the terms, but it's more like somebody who can handle things once you're gone, right? So you want to do this process starting today. If I'm getting a customer support staff, I have a couple of people, freelancers or whatever, can I train them just enough so that they can handle things just a little bit beyond what they're doing, right? Second thing, say, for example, you're looking at running ads, let's say, or anything like that for customer acquisition. Is there something that you could train somebody quickly, even in your team, like your customer support staff or somebody like that, sit with them maybe 1 hour a week, a couple of hours a week to basically train them so they can take over certain things, right? And they basically can continue doing the work after you're not in the basically the creativity aspect of it. And the third thing that I need is I want to lower my risk, right? I don't want that much risk. Like, what is the risk? Like, if I bought it for like $1 million, tomorrow I don't make my money back that I put in, right? So what they will say is like, O'Neill, can you stick around for 2 more years, right? And keep 20% of the company, right? And this 20%, if it grows in that 2 or 3 year period, your 20% is worth a lot more now, right? Because let's say, let me explain how this works, right? So let's say you sold a company for 1 million, right? And they allowed you to keep, say, for example, 20% of it. So that means in effect, you made $800,000. I'm just putting up a number, but you got my point. Then $200,000 is your equity, right? Because you're keeping this. So this is your 200 grand. So now what happens is after 2 years, if they could double the company or they could increase the revenue even by a little bit, and now they themselves or whoever is buying it, they want to sell this for like 1.5 million bucks. Let's say let's just do 2 million because it's going to be a rounded figure, but 2 million, right? So let's just say they do it for 2 million. Now the company's value doubled. So your 200K also becomes 400 grand now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is one thing that you got to look into because it increases the value because the risk is lowered. The other thing is like, obviously, they might even say something like, okay, in this industry, you might not want to compete with us, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I was trying to say you might have like a non-compete for 2 or 3 years or some period like that. So that's why you want to figure out if it's worth selling or what's the goal, right? You want to retire, you want to enjoy life, you want to do whatever you want, right? And so the more the actual team automates this, the more valuable the business becomes. Okay. And the other thing I was telling to explain to you as well is your high margin products in this time frame, your high margin, like your high profit, high, generally these are your high ticket stuff, right? This is your product, like I was telling you, like specific stuff like tricks or a dog tricks, or somebody's already gotten the generic product. Now they need more stuff. They want to know, okay, the dog's doing the basics. What do I make it do more things, right? Or let's say it's behaving with my family and friends, but it's strangers. It starts getting scared when in an unfamiliar environment, like when you go take it for the dog for a walk or something, right? So that could be your additional stuff, right? This is your high margin product. Why? Because the customer is already acquired. Whatever you sell to them is 100% profit now. You see, no running of ads, no running of like anything. Your marketing messaging is selling them, right? So this stuff you need to focus more of your time on, right now and going forward as well. Okay, the effort that you put in here will increase the value of that company down the line. Okay. And you might be wondering, okay, it's beyond me, Paul. I don't think I can do it. Let me show you something so that you can understand what I'm trying to get at, so that you will see what I'm saying. I'll show you this one. There is this company that I personally have worked with before down in Canada. I just want to show you it as an example, okay? Not so that you go in and you sell your company to them or anything, but I want to show you how it's structured, okay? So let me show you. You see here, this is like in the West Coast of Canada, but let me go to the transaction. So you'll see what they're selling and what's happening. So you see this is basically, right, the businesses that they've sold. You'll see your business would probably be here as well. But when you're actually seeing, where is like the listings here? Let me see if they have anything. Buy a business, do you have listings available right now? Yeah. So you see this, right? So this is how you got to look at your numbers, right? So you see childcare services, whatever. You have specialty food. You have like whatever franchises and stuff. But I'll just put some business like this one right here, childcare services. But this is not how yours would be. Yours would probably fall into something like this one. Like this is the health and beauty products, right? Because yours is a digital product, remember? Online, yes. Right? So probably yours is going to be something similar to this. But what I wanted to show you is, you see how they are structuring this, right? And I wanted to explain this to you. So this is their earnings before income taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Okay. So what this means is, let's say your business was doing 1 million in revenue, right? You pay yourself 200,000. Remember, we are talking about your goal of 200,000, right? So normally this would be your profit, right? So what they're saying is, no, this gets added back into this EBITDA price, right? Because then the owner who buys it, they're going to get this 200 grand too, right? So this would be before any salaries you pay to the owners. This could be dividends. This could be whatever you pay yourself. So then you want to calculate this in your business. So in this particular case, for this particular business is 1,142,000. So this is where they added back to the profit whatever the owners were taking from the company. Okay. So this particular case, this business right now, I believe it's valued at about 7.5x of this number. Okay. So this one right here. Now, why is this value? I'll explain to you. There's like a table that you can get into later on and all that, but I'm just want to show you in basics, right? So if you open up the calculator and you do the search, it comes to something around, right, just over $8 million, I believe. So just around $8 million. So this is how the business is worth. Okay. So in different industries, different value comes. In the digital space, like say, for example, where it's a newsletter where there's not much upkeep, it's a digital product where there's not upkeep, it goes up even more, a lot more. Why? Because there's no supply chain to worry about. There's not like, a manufacturing things to worry about, price of steel, price of goods, right? All this stuff, you're resilient from that, right? So yours would be easily, the starting would be like 10x plus. Right. And this is the profit. So if yours has some recurring income, it'll be even more. Right. When it comes to anything recurring in nature, it'll be 35x the revenue. Okay. 35x revenue. So if it was recurring, right, let's say you did something like a recurring membership site or something like that, even a small portion of it is a membership site, then it'll be 35x of this 8 million that they're talking about. You see my point?
Wow.
So this is the reason why, if you see in the stock market, like a Facebook or, let's say a Tesla, or let's say, for example, one of the digital service stuff like Salesforce or all these other software companies like Google, they're worth this 35x and stuff, while say Kellogg's or McDonald's, they're worth like only the 7.5x, right? So it's just a question of understanding what it is like an investor would probably value. Recurring income has a higher premium. Digital products have a higher premium. Anything that where you push it out there and it's making its revenue without much hands-on work on your part, the transition is smooth, has higher margin, right? So you got to look at it like that. So now my question then would be, if this is how we are looking at an example for the sale of the company, don't you agree with me? Your goal will be to grow that's this number, irrelevant of the revenue here. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if your revenue is like 3 million, but your profit is like 1.4. I'll pay you the same 7.5x. For me, it doesn't really matter. You see my point? So this is how the mindset should work if you're trying to sell your company down the line, which is more like, okay, how do I increase that number that would be maybe focus more on your high margin offers, right? High ticket offers. So focus a little bit more, and how you can. So another thing is not just focus. It's more like, how can I get ideas on funneling more of my existing customers in there? How do I get more ideas on how do I get my new customers who are coming in to buy my high ticket stuff? That's all your thought process is, right? Because in the realistic scenario, it's very simple. Like, okay, I ran an ad, I spend this much, this is how much somebody spent for me. Now at that point, if your high margin offer is your focus, you don't even care if your lower product even makes a profit, right? Do you even care? Because everything is hinging on this, right? It doesn't matter if like that's $10 or $50 product makes $2 profit, or if it's break, irrelevant. You see my point?
Yes.
So the thought process changes. So that's another reason why I was saying, if the goal is to sell the company, your focus, your way of decision making changes now, right? If you told me like, I don't want to sell it, like I just want to be in a scenario where I just passively live off of the income for the next foreseeable future, then the thought process will be completely different. Now you just focus on how to reduce your workload as little as possible, make it as little as possible, but still be in the creative output, thinking about how you can sustain that income, right? And so the decision making changes. So that's what I kind of wanted to drive. So for me too, right? My whole thought process for before, when I was not thinking in this type of thinking, was like, oh, okay, if I just increase this number by 20%, my company will be worth 20%. But now I'm thinking, how can I make my company part of this 35x, right? That's more efficient usage of my money, my time, my resources. Or in the case of your business, like I would do the same thing. Like, how do I maybe make it such that my high ticket products are automated, such that when somebody buys my product, immediately I create a welcome video, as an example, right? I'd be like, hey folks, thank you so much for purchasing this product. Did you know that when you go through this product, it solves a lot of your problems? Yes. But I also have an advanced training program where actually you can have a direct attention with me, where I can spend an hour every week and see what's happening, what the progress is with your dog. And that way you don't have to feel guilty anymore. You don't have to feel overwhelmed anymore. You can always have me available for you. And this is only $500. So think of it. If you were to hire me, right? Like in this case, like if you were to hire me, you'd have to pay me $3,500, right? Personally. Now you can just get it me for $500. You're saving $300 right out of the gate. And I can guarantee you 100% that if it doesn't work out, you get every single penny back from this $500, no risk for you, but try it out. Now, even if that has a 5% conversion rate from somebody who purchased something from you, that is increasing this number, right? And you didn't do any extra. You see? So I don't believe in this logic of like, oh, create an automated webinar, go send people and register them after purchase. No, a simple video also is very, very effective. Doesn't take much time. There you can put testimonials here, right? Your good testimonials, put them here again, right? I helped this person the same way. I helped this person the same way and stuff, right? And the premium buyers will pay the premium dollars for the premium personal touch, okay? Does that make sense now? Don't ever feel afraid trying to sell a higher price product that has more personal touch of yours, that might take your personal attention, because there are people who never feel guilty about it. They'll pay you that big bucks because they need that. They're willing to do that, yes, but also if somebody is already in that higher echelon and they're making more than 100 grand a year, and they care about their pet, they're for the pet food and just the care of the pet, they're spending thousands of dollars. For them, $500 is nothing, right? It's like, what is it? Nothing. And so that's another thing. And another thing I would also suggest to you is like that which I just told you, this particular offer, I want you to do it in such a way where like initially you could do it live so that you can get a better understanding of some customers, your existing customers you have, maybe bring on your customers who had good success with and do it for free or whatever, and create the content. And then after that, have it recorded and have it set up in a membership portal, right? That way you get a better understanding of how the flow works. Is 7 weeks enough for that? 6 weeks enough? 8 weeks enough? You'll understand the better flow based on your content and stuff like that. And you're always available for them, right? So it's all good. So this is another thing. And the final suggestion I have for you, okay, because I want you to be this content to be crisp, and you can learn a lot. Once you get into this $500 offer, hyper target your audience. Okay, so what I mean by that is, generally speaking, I've noticed this a lot, even online, O'Neill, is a lot of, let's say, for example, people who are in the industry, in the digital marketing space, even online products and stuff, are men generally, right? Somebody like you as an entrepreneur, as a female, as an entrepreneur, is an inspiration for a lot of women, right? So when I'm targeting, I would probably also create some ads or my content to target women pet owners. Does that make sense? So now what happens is a lot of people have this mistake where they're like, I did say the generic product reached the masses and stuff like that. But when you're having a lower advertising budget for ads and stuff, I will have my ad something like this: attention, right? Female, right? Pet owners. This is a must have, right? So then what happens is your ad costs go down quite a bit when you're attracting this way, because only those people you're trying to reach will click. And when they see somebody else who basically is from the United States, let's say, just like yourself, or let's say from who has similar accent as you, or maybe similar experiences as you, or whatever, immediately they'll have a better relationship with you and they're more likely to buy. So when you always have lower budget for advertising, particularly, try to reduce the audience you're trying to reach as well. Later on, when you're profitable, increase it. But I would recommend this way also. You know what happens is that you can reach those groups I was telling you about, which could be like moms group, right? The odds of somebody being a mom with 2 kids and also having a pet is very high, right? So you see my point. They may not be like a dog lovers group, but it could be a mom's group. You can reach those people much better this way. Like I know somebody who was in the weight loss space, made millions and millions of dollars. One of the most successful offers of all time. They had a digital product. What he did, his name is Mike. He went in and instead of running ads for this weight loss product and different, like what you probably see like Google or whatever, Facebook running ads looking to lose weight or whatever, he went into ballet dancing groups. He went into these other groups you might not hear about, because what is somebody who's interested in ballet dancing? They might want to lose weight. Or what is somebody who's interested in dancing in general? They might lose. For you to look at your target market, who is it? Like your customer profile, right? Like if it's mostly women, mostly of a certain age group, mostly from a certain location, then you know where those people are hanging out the most, right? They might not be hanging out in dog groups or pet related groups. They might be hanging around in like some hobby groups, right? Like maybe a knitting group. Maybe it is a group which is like a local area for moms to interact with other moms. Maybe it is something else. It's very powerful because your ad costs go down. Even your marketing costs and stuff go down, because most people think of it like in a sense like, oh, I'm just going to go compete because there's a market already, but they don't realize that same person is hanging out in other places too, right? So look at that. And this is where maybe after this call is done, just go in and search like, okay, these are all the people that I'm looking at in the last 20 years. This was my profile. This was my best type of a customer. This is the type of person who had the best, response and stuff like that. And create like a profile of that person, right? Generally speaking, and it'll get you incredible results. Okay, and it also will put you in a place where there's no competition, right? So yeah, you're probably getting some ideas on how that would work, right? Like you'll be like, oh, everybody who's a mom with 2 kids would more likely have a dog as well, or somebody who already has a pet, but who are where are they hanging out, right? Somebody who has a pet might be hanging around in neighborhood walk areas or neighborhood sports areas. Somebody who has a dog who's very active are probably in hiking forums. You see my point?
Right. Yes.
So you want to look at it in that perspective. That will allow you to reach a new audience without having to spend extra money on stuff. That message that I was trying to tell you, which is, are you feeling guilty you're neglecting a dog? Are you feeling guilty that you're not taking care of your pet properly and not being a good parent? Are you feeling embarrassed that your dog is good with you, but anybody else not so friendly, right? These things like that will also resonate really well with those people. Like you can go into some of these forums or Reddit groups and stuff like that and just literally say, hey, I'm running this free video. I thought some of you folks will help. Send them to a YouTube video or something. And then in the bottom have an opt-in form or something. And then you reach those people much better. And we're talking margins here. Like if 1,000 people watch that video and 50 people end up buying that $500 product in the end, that's worth your time to go do it. And it's an asset that produces you traffic and revenue in the long run too, right? So look at it in that sense as well. So hope that is clear. Any other questions you had?
There's so much you've given to me. There's a tremendous, I've got lots to work on.
Perfect. Yeah. So don't get overwhelmed. So that's the last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to get this out of the way so that people can actually see this. Okay. So while we end this call, what I'm saying, and this is good for everybody as well. So there's a lot of things that happen and we get overwhelmed half the time. And we're like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do that. That's interesting. That's exciting. But the fundamentals will never change. I mean, as a business owner, like, well, work 20 years works. It's just the modality has changed, right? Like before, somebody you would use just Google search. Now they're on social media. Somebody who was interested in Instagram, now maybe in TikTok. But the people are the same. The mentality, the mindset, the way they think, the problems a dog owner, a pet lover has 20 years ago, it's the same problem today, right? The feeling of embarrassment and all this stuff. So when you keep your messaging very standard across, it will resonate with all audiences. There is no such thing, which I believe, where like, oh, for Instagram, we have to craft a different message for this age group. No, it doesn't work that way. No, because the thing is that where it resonates. When a video does well in one place, it's going to do well. If a business does well with a certain audience, will always do well with that audience, regardless of where they are. Okay. So that's the other thing. And your marketing too, try to get into the emotions of the people. Like we discussed this, right? Who's buying it? The people are, and they don't want to kind of confront their main problem. You cannot say it's your fault and you need to change. It's the same thing with the weight loss industry for the last 200, 300 years. You cannot say you need to go to the gym, you need to work out, you need to eat healthy. That's not what people want. People want some pattern interrupt, right? They want the magician. They want the magician who can offer them the solution. And for you to become that magician, and that's what I want you to look at yourself, right? That you're the magician who can pull that solution out of the hat, right? And how do you do it? Well, you need to go deep down and drill down and go emotionally. Like, okay, you might be feeling guilty, you're feeling embarrassed, you might be feeling, you left behind, where all the other friends of yours and your family, they're doing well with their pet and they're no smarter than you. Then how are they doing it successfully? What is the secret, right? And that resonates a lot more with people than if you say you need to change, you got to do this, right? And you gotta hit them where it hurts, okay? And it hurts for people when the discussion comes down to them, feeling guilty about something, them feeling embarrassed about something, and stuff like that, because those are the premium buyers. Those are the people who admit they have a problem and they know when your messaging resonates with them, right? So just look at it that way. And I know it sounds simplistic, but when you do it, when you change little things here and there, right, the compounded impact makes a big difference. Like your offer was converting 1%, now it does 3%. That is 300% growth in your revenue, right? If your opt-ins that you're getting are not targeted leads, and now you're getting more targeted people, that improves your revenue by 2 or 3x, right? So it's like you can look at it in that perspective as well. When you think, oh man, it's too much work, I can't keep up. Just look at it that way. Like everything compounds. Like everything I look at is like, if I make a 1% change here, 1% change there, 1% change here, that is not 3% growth. That is 300% growth. You see my point? So you got to look at it that way, because everything interacts with everything. The more front-end sales you make, the more back-end sales you make. So if you increase your front-end conversions by like, say, 3 from 1% to 3%, Now your revenue and your profit went up 300% on the other offer too, right? Not just on your front end. You see my point? So these
Exactly.
little changes mathematically, you'll be amazed when you sit and you calculate. You're like, wow, I didn't think of it was this impactful. It makes a big difference, right? And also one other thing I want to say, last thing is, we are here for you, right? Don't feel overwhelmed, right, when you're trying to do this stuff. And if you have any questions, obviously we're available. I'm here, Yash from our team, everybody's here to guide you through the process. Just look at it like consistency, right? I'd much rather build a business that's making $300 to $500 a day for a year than a business that made a $3,000 spike and then went down, right? Because you don't know why it went down now, right? So it's much more easier to have that consistency. So and it's not that difficult. To be really honest, I don't want to be. And look, when I get folks like you with 20 years experience, you should be getting your goal around $200,000. Big market. There are tons of people out there. It's not easy, but at the same time, it's simple. Meaning you follow these strategies and you follow the framework. It's never going to fail you, right? And at the end of the day, what worked 20 years ago, you already know works. It's just a question of like applying it into your industry in the right way, right? So what we can do, O'Neill, is maybe in a month or 2 months or something, we'll catch up. In the meantime, you have any follow-up questions and stuff like that, you can let me or Yash know from our team, and we'll be happy to connect with you and go through, see what's happening. But as I said, do everything one by one, okay? So for example, I talked about the copywriting thing. Change your copywriting first, okay? Spend maybe a week or a few days on that. Then the next thing would be, we said, create another offer, which is a generic offer. Maybe do that next, right? Spend a week or something on that. Because everything, you'll see results right away, you know? You don't have to do all 10 of them to see results, right? Little changes, right? So look at it that way. Don't get in a scenario where like, I'll have to do this big checklist, and you have, the bigger your checklist gets, the more overwhelmed and more stress you get, right? So it's like 1 week, I'm going to focus on this, then next, right? And like I said, if you can improve your conversions by 3%, right, you can run ads more consistently, or you can focus on your advertising, or you can hire somebody who can solve your issues or something like that, right? A customer support or something, little things, right? So yeah, we'll catch up with you. It was great having you on. I wish you the best. I wish you good luck. I see all the people as well here encouraging you as well. But like I said, right, I strongly believe like you should be hitting 200,000 in the next 12 months. I'll be surprised if you're not. Especially because it's a smaller amount to the market you're trying to reach. You know what I mean? So it's not that difficult. The only thing, again, like I said, is like you want to do it in such a way where you know for a fact what you did to get there. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like a fluke or a luck, because then what happens is you can sell that company and you can start something else. You can get into another industry. You can do that. That skill will never leave you, right? And it's more fun too then, because you're like, oh, there's a reason why this failed. I'm not stressed out about it. Let me do something else now to change that, right? And it also gives you the power of basically being resilient, right? The resiliency is going to be there, because like right now, like I told you, I have some random week we're spending like $10,000 or something on advertising, and we lose $20,000. But I don't care, because the thing is that in the long run, I know the people who are spending way too much money don't have the fundamentals correct. They're going to get weeded out very quickly, right? So you're just going to give you that kind of a confidence in yourself, right? Because you're doing everything correctly. And when you do everything correctly, it's just at the end of the day, it's going to work itself out in the longer term, right? They might have some blips and downs and stuff like that, right? And so yeah, and with the economy right now, with the high inflation and high interest rate and stuff like that, what's going to matter going forward, which I know because I've dealt with the 2008 2009 downturn online, is that people with skills are always going to be in demand. Okay, people who know what they're doing and people who focus on and drill down will be like, if you can do well now, in the next 2 to 3 years you can do 2 or 3x better, because if you're in like a market where like everybody's a little bit scared to spend and stuff like that, you got customers, then you're going to be able to get customers super easy later on too, right? So think of it that way. And yeah, wish you all the best. We'll be in touch. You take care.
Thank you so much, Paul. This was excellent.
All right, you take care. Thank you.